Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. We're starting a new series today where we're going to explore their GCC Logistics Pulse and what's happening with new Grade A warehousing around the Gulf region. I'm joined today by the head of our consulting, corporate advisory and M&A business, Mark Lutton. Mark, thanks for joining us today from somewhere in Dubai.
Thanks, Kim. Nice to be here.
Cheers. So, Mark, we're going to be talking about a surge in A-grade logistics warehousing across the Gulf. What's happening, why it matters for investors, occupiers, and where the opportunities exist. So let's jump in. Let's start with the big picture, Mark. There's been a huge amount of news about the property, commercial, industrial sector, especially around the Gulf. How does the development of Grade A logistics warehousing fit with the broader GCC macro story right now?
Well, short answer to that, Kim, it's very central because we see GCC governments that were relying on hydrocarbons or want to diversify away from that. And the way they're doing that is diversifying into transport, ports, industrial zones. And you combine that with rising e-commerce, reshoring of supply chains that we're seeing post-COVID due to the Red Sea. This is all driving institutional interest in modern tech-enabled Grade A warehousing. A big example of that would be a few weeks ago, we had Blackstone announced a $5 billion collaboration with Abu Dhabi's Lunate, specifically into logistics infrastructure. So we see an attraction of foreign capital into the region. So this all supports logistics as a core growth theme. And in reality, in the market, we're seeing occupier demand is outpacing the available modern supply in many hubs. This is tightening yields and, again, bringing large institutional capital and logistics operators that want to come into the region and build Grade A warehousing.
Awesome. Okay, well, we see a lot of news blasts around this region about activities, a lot of good news stories. What's actually been announced or built in, say, the last 12 months or so? Any headline projects or partnerships that we should know about?
There's been many in the last 2 years. In terms of announcements, actually, this year we're seeing across Saudi Arabia, the usual players, Agility, Mawani, Tamar, they're bringing to market new logistics parks, not just warehouses, in the hundreds of thousands of square meters in Jeddah, Riyadh, and Dammam. But this still isn't keeping up with the demand that we're seeing in the market. In UAE, again, we're seeing real estate developers partnering with logistics companies such as Aldar with DP World. Keyzad has been developing. I think they're up to KLP 7 or 8, and I hear there's no availability. Jafsa is developing its own logistics warehousing. We're seeing new developers that were previously in commercial real estate, such as Swade and Swade announced big logistics parks, and we've got Asian property developers such as Jingdong, who are massive in Asia but are entering the market in UAE, announcing logistics parks development. So as you can see, there's definitely a strong interest from property developers in developing Grade A warehousing, and it's now turned into more speculative. Previously, we were very much a build-to-suit warehouse market. Now it's speculative warehousing that we're seeing being developed.
Okay, well, good. Thanks for that. That's quite a good strategic overview. Just for our audience who may not be aware, just quickly, Mark, give a description of who Jafsa is and who Keyzad is.
So Keyzad is the free zone operated by Abu Dhabi Ports, which is between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and it's a big industrial area with free zones and has attracted a large amount of infrastructure investment from e-commerce, industrial companies and logistics companies. And Jafsa was now 40 years old, free zone based around Jebel Ali Port, and is continuously growing. and very, very attractive for logistics companies that want to import, export, and transship through the region.
Right. Well, thanks for that. Full disclosure, we've had commercial relationships at one time or another with JAFSA and currently with KZAD. From an investors and occupiers perspective, what are the main opportunities and the clearest risks when backing or leasing new grade A warehousing in the GCC?
Well, the opportunity for investors at the minute is that there's a large supply gap. Some GCC markets, there's less than 10% of the existing warehousing meets what we would call international grade A standards. So new high-spec products that are coming to market can demand premium rents and long leases up to 15, 20 years from e-commerce, 3PLs, pharmaceutical cold chain tenants that don't want to build their own facilities. Secondly, governments are enabling logistics corridors, developing free zones, as I said, such as KZAD and Jebel Ali and JAFSA. We have the new rail infrastructure being built across UAE and Saudi. So the long-term structural cases there for the build. And then thirdly, what we need to consider is sustainability and automation. Investors can differentiate their assets by making it LEED. So we're hearing of LEED Gold warehouses more now, green building features, and then automation because of the labour costs rising. So investors need to consider designing their warehouse to be LEED compliant and able to install automation. Of course, the risks around it is land availability. Saudi is struggling to provide enough land in the right locations. So land is being sold at a premium. And again, in Saudi, we're seeing construction cost inflation in double digits in some areas due to a squeeze on availability of construction companies and the giga projects that have consumed a lot of that construction capacity.
Yeah, and of course, there's been some globally significant mega projects from a construction point of view around this region over the last 5 to 10 years. So Mark, tactically, from the warehousing side, what should investors, developers, and occupiers be doing right now if they want to capture value from the wave of grade A logistics development?
Tactically, there's a few things to consider. Location and connectivity. You need to prioritize your assets near multimodal access ways, near ports, near airports, key highways, which makes UAE, Abu Dhabi and Dubai attractive due to the airport infrastructure investment and the development of the ports. Again, Saudi Arabia with development of its ports in Jeddah and Dammam, new airport in Riyadh. You have partnerships that you need to consider. How you're going to execute your project through. Lost on that one. Start again.
Yeah, cutting out there, AT, and then cutting back in again when Mark starts again.
Yeah, Kim, there's three. Sorry.
What?
Yeah, Kim, there's 2 or 3 tactical moves that you really need to consider if you're developing grade A warehousing. One is the location where to put it and how you connect it. So it's very attractive to put it near or around airports, ports, or key highways. So that makes Dubai, Abu Dhabi very attractive due to the investment in Abu Dhabi port, Jebel Ali, and the new Al Maktoum airport. You have a new airport being built in Riyadh with a new airline starting up early next year. Then you need to think about potential partnerships, looking at who are the capital providers, who are the experienced logistics operators, so you can reduce your execution risk, maybe accelerate your leasing. You don't want to build a nice new logistics complex and it remain empty for 12 months. So we've seen this model being actively used across the region. And then design your warehouse for flexibility and sustainability. When we're making designs, we're constantly thinking how these warehouses can be converted from dry to ambient into temperature controlled, how they can be split up into multiple units. We also make sure they've got the correct clear heights for automation, that they have the power requirements, and that they're connected to the electric grid. They're cold chain ready, and that they can be converted into green buildings. So yeah, make sure you stress test your returns, consider construction cost inflation, and then yeah, just keep an eye out on, because these are long-term investments, keep an eye out on what's the government's FDI policy, because you always need a exit option in the end to get out of your investment.
Well, that's great, Mark. I mean, you've touched on a whole range of subject matter there that I'm probably going to hit you up on the next part of the series. One of them is the development of, you said, the aviation sector in the Gulf. Just unbelievable. Airports in particular, other than the hundreds, or if not thousands, of aircraft that are being ordered over for the next 10 to 15 years here. DWC, of course, which is about 20 minutes from where I am at the moment, via World Central. I think it's going to have something over 300 or 100 or so gates in that airport. Is that right?
I don't know how many gates, but it's going to have 5 runways. Capacity of 150 million passengers. It will become one of the biggest hubs for passengers and cargo. Hence, all the logistics companies wanting to locate their infrastructure and businesses around Dubai South now.
Brilliant. I just brought it up while you've been talking. It's 400 gates, which is just unbelievable. It's got to be the most gates of anywhere in the world, I would imagine. But, you know, as you say, Saudi and Riyadh are developing a massive airport as well. Mark, that's brilliant. I really appreciate your input on the A-grade warehousing and logistics capabilities in this region. Look forward to following up on this. So it's a little bit more than a 5-minute snapshot, but I really appreciate your input. Any final comments to investors or to companies looking to enter into this market at all?
Yeah, Kim, we're currently working with several different logistics companies, property developers, investment funds within the region, actively bringing to them land, warehouse investment opportunities. So yeah, contact us, reach out if you're looking for anything in that area, specifically around warehousing. Brilliant.
Okay, Mark, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us, Mark Lutton, who is the head of our corporate advisory business unit for here in the Gulf and broader afield. Good to talk to you, Mark, and talk to you again shortly. Yeah.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining us for this series on Logistics Executive TV, and we'll talk again soon.